Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday. Can you believe it's Friday? It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have a Golden Bachelorette recap, a guy's review we're going to get into. I'm a day late. I don't think this has ever happened, to be quite honest. I've done Bachelor reviews from historic islands in the middle of the South Indian Ocean, and yet, for whatever reason, yesterday, I just couldn't make it happen. I had some unforeseen circumstances come up, but hey, we're here now. And not only that, I'm going to be giving you a live stream video today at 11 a.m. Central Time, which means as you're watching this, it might actually be going on. So go over and check that out. I'll be going live to discuss the lawyer who is representing a client who I've kind of busted for fraud. And he's calling me cold-hearted. So I want to get the facts straight. You guys know me, nothing cold here, just trying to do my best with the information I have. And that led us to exposing multiple cases of fraud and vindicating multiple men and in response, their families. Won't apologize for that. Well, we've got a lot to get into with this video. So here's what I do. I take notes. I read them back to you. No edits, no jump cuts, just me and you guys. That's what we do. So it's the week before hometowns. Can you believe this? We're already on hometowns. And what do we have here? Oh, the Frenchman survives. We open with Pascal steaming his shirt in his whitey tighties. He's got bulging opportunities to make a name for himself here at hometowns. We'll see how that goes. Listen, I got to tell you, there is something to be said about whitey tighties the older you get. You know, I was a boxer briefs guy. Then when I was a crazy wild teenager, I went straight to boxers. I think you got to be a psychopath to sleep in boxers. I like a little bit of structure in my life. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned tight white right there. But to be quite honest, I would have pegged him for more of a Speedo cut brief. But maybe this is the Americanized version of himself, because there's a lot that can go wrong with a white undie. Okay, you've heard enough from me. So anyway, the crowd size dwindles. Nothing dwindling with Pascal, but the crowd size dwindles. So it's only several men left. Trista shows up since there are only a small handful of couples still together. They're running out of people. They're like, all right, who do we have from Bachelor Nation that's still with their partner? Michelle Young? No, I can't do it. Keith? Oh, can't do that. They're like, Dotton? Well, we've already used Charity. They're just running out of people. They got Trista. Keith gets a one-on-one date. So let's go to Keith. One-on-one date. There it is. They blurred out whatever was here. They blurred out, I guess, maybe the plane, the helicopter's tail number. I don't know. They go on the choppa, classy. The house is, the dudes in the house are all kind of like hanging out. And do we have the moment here? Oh, wait, we don't have the graphic, but they take the helicopter ride. They do an old mansion flyby. Remember the old mansion flyby where the guys are just waiting in the pool, right? The guys are just doing their water Zumba class, which, there's a lot to be said about a good water Zumba class. What's the biggest fear of Zumba? That you might fart in front of somebody. Well, when you're in the water, that just becomes a hot tub. No one cares, you can get your stretches in from the confines of a liquid, cesspool, as our friend Lauren would call it. Meanwhile, Kelsey's dad, Mark, he starts to spiral. We love Mark, but he's starting to wonder what his place is. He's getting that edit, that edit that they get where you just don't know if this is going to be the end of the road for him. He's like, should I be here? And then he's missing his late wife, says his wife Denise told him to go find someone, and he believes that signs in the universe guide him, which I totally agree with. I love to look for signs. Why not? There's signs all around us. We live in a miraculous world. Then the group date goes bowling. Pascal's like, how do I do this game here? These French guys are only soccer players, so they don't know how to use their hands, in sports at least. They're pretty good lovers, so I've been told. Maybe not. What do I know? Seemingly, he's... so anyway, there we go back. There he's not... he's like, I'm not wearing the communal shoes. Welcome to America, garçon. You put the shoes on. You get a whiff of that good old-fashioned antibiotic spray. That thing could cure cancer, that spray. What is that stuff? And you wear someone else's shoes. I never had a problem wearing bowling shoes, but the older I get, the more I think, I can't believe someone's going to have to wear these shoes after I wear them. Have you seen my feet? I play baseball. I got pitcher's toe. I think I've lost it's a war zone down there, folks. Anyway, we all know that men have sharp toenails. You ever put your pants on and your toenail shanks through your jeans, and you're like, those were new Levi's. Those were thick denim in your toenails. Like, not today, essay. It just goes right through it. All right, not today, essay. Hey, good rhymes. We spoke 3 languages so far today. What do we got here? So Chuck wants to spend all of his time with Joan, and then Guy politely tells Chuck to give some other guys a chance, and Chuck isn't having it. Chuck is chocked full of, attention here. But how funny is this scene? This looks like it's out of, The Breakfast Club, doesn't it? So once we get out of this detention, what do you say you and I go on the make? You know what I mean? I'll give you my pin. We can go to the soccer game on Tuesday. So there they are, just looking funny. She's like very in her emo element. I can see her at Claire's getting her earrings done, not the lower ones, but the higher ones. How many ladies in our audience got the high ones done explicitly after your mom told you not to? What was it about parents that thought the high earring made you become, what? It was like your lobe is okay, but if you start piercing up here, you're going to be given hand jobs at that soccer game on a Tuesday night. Which, by the way, do what you want to do. You know what I mean? What do I care? By the way, I feel like I'm speaking to one person who had that experience. That's right. I got my upper ear done. My mom got mad, and out of spite, I gave a guy an old fashioned after a trip to Ruby Tuesdays. So anyway, what's going on? I'm all over the place. So I love the idea of bowling as a first date. I actually, my wife and I were kind of friends back in the day. We were sort of contemplating, what are we going to do here? And by when I say we were contemplating, I was into her, and she was like, who is this guy? And I was like, oh, if you date me, honey, yours will be the world. We'll have a podcast empire. It'll be great. Someone will try to sue me. Yeah, you'll be the cold-hearted queen. Maybe that's what the mug will be. Cold-hearted queens. Anyhow, what the hell? So I went on a bowling date with this lady who's now my wife. We just celebrated our 2nd year married. We have a beautiful 5-month-old baby. And we've been together for about a decade here because I wasn't rushing to that altar. Unlike old Gary, what's his name over here? Gary Turner. So anyhow, I remember on my bowling date, we were bowling, and I was really laying the smackdown on my wife, this lady at the time who became my wife, and I beat her. I think I beat her by a lane or two, whatever the scoring technique is. I beat her by the old baker's dozen, and as she walked by me, she gave me a slap on my butt, and it wasn't exactly like a caress you type of slap, but it was enough to say, hey, compadre, we're in business, and we've never looked back. So there it is, folks. Things happen in the bowling lanes. There's something about that hardwood floor and the cheesy music and thing, that there's something that just gets you in your feels, and Chuck knows a thing or two about that. All right, so anyhow, time for the final one-on-one date with Mark. So let's go over to that. Mark, there's a red Porsche. There they are. He gets the date. And that you could tell in the edit they were like cutting together the quiet times. And listen, every single date's gonna have a couple quiet moments, but they kind of played that curious music that made it look like Mark doesn't have game. Let me tell you something. Mark's fine. He knows what he's doing. But then you got Boozebag Joan over there. She's chucking down the bubbly, like, let's make a party out of this. And he's like, well, there's kind of a stiff breeze. I'm kind of cold. So anyway, Mark shares that when his wife got her diagnosis, she was already in stage 4. And then he shared his hummingbird story about how hummingbirds show up in times where he needs a signal, and it was very endearing. The next day, Joan pulls Mark aside to chat. This is never good. You never get pulled over the next day to hear, oh, it was such a great... No, it's always, that wasn't really working out. So, never good. She said she didn't want to go into the rose ceremony without talking to him first, so she's gracefully dumping him. He says, I know this journey is for you to find the one who is right for you. King Mark. There he is. Great answer. He says this experience has changed him. Mark lets the guys know he's leaving. Now the guys are shocked. Pascal's crying. He's bunched up his whitey tighties. Jonathan, everyone just feels for him because, like I said this on the podcast the other night, but this is just the men. The bromance that comes here. You have to imagine, and I don't mean to trivialize war, but there are probably few instances in a man's life where you have an opportunity to bond this way. A lot of people stop playing sports in high school. You know, they play rec league after that, but you become like the head of your household. You become the grandfather. You become sort of like a singular unit in a pyramid where like there aren't many, I don't see a bunch of grandfathers hanging out. And then you get people that served in military, they have a bond. Their troop, their squad, their whatever, you know, they've got that bond if they did that because they were all experiencing something very unique and of course very traumatic. So I'm not comparing this to war or anything like that. That's a completely different ballgame. But what I am saying is it's very interesting that they have this shared experience and you get to see this sort of male on male bonding, this love going on, which I don't know about you guys, but there definitely is a thirst for that in my life to see this older generation and say, hey, can't you guys just hug and share your emotions? And I'm not saying this older generation doesn't. I'm just saying they're the product of World War II parents, the silent generation, the generation that, you know, if they gave you a stiff handshake, it was the most sentimental thing a dad ever did for you. And while there might be some people out there that's like, no, my dad always hugged, my dad always cried, good for you. But there's a lot of people out there that don't see their parents ever sharing emotions. So to see this positive version of masculinity shared, I think it's just a really touching thing, and I really related to it. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the audience who's watching this, you know, people said, oh, who wants to watch a bunch of 70, 60-year-olds, late 50-year-olds people finding love? Well, the answer has been everybody. Everyone, to be quite honest, because we see our grandparents in this, and we see a generation of people that have not been represented. So the demand is there, folks. The demand is there. So anyway, the guys are so emotional. And then watching these men tell each other they love each other, it's just, like I said, a generation of trauma lifted for me. Pascal cries. He says, Mark was my best friend. And then, of course, we lost Jonathan and Keith, I believe. Do I have that right? Let me ask the Patreon chat. Is that right? Did we lose Jonathan and Keith? I think that's who it was. So there's your recap for you. You learned something new about me. I enjoy a good butt slap at a bowling alley, but who doesn't, right, folks? And the beat goes on. They're down to their final four. Will Joan find love? That's the question. Because we can watch this all play out. But last season was a quick nothing burger dud. Hopefully Joan has learned the person she's going to choose has to live within a, several hour radius of where her family is or be willing to uproot his life. And while it might seem fun and easy to uproot your life now while you're on the show, are you really prepared to do that? I don't know, folks. All right, I'll be back at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for a public live stream. If you want to join the private community, it's at patreon.com/Dave Neal. But if you really want to support the channel, make sure to scan that QR code. We have twice daily pop culture podcast. The morning one was great. I was rocking and rolling this morning. We were playing some old school hip hop, hooray. What's this you'll go listen, you'll know. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.